Hello and welcome back to the podcast. We are going to get into a little October recap with this episode because while we were busy doing our Halloween episodes, we kind of put our personal lives on the back burner to talk about.
We really did. And we kind of did a lot throughout October. Just thinking about it, I was like, oh, that all happened this month and it's almost November. It is November when this episode comes out.
That's
But
so wild to think about.
so much happened. I went to Lake Tahoe. I won a trip through work. So Brian and I got to go out there.
So exciting.
It was crazy. One couldn't believe that I won a trip anywhere, but to Lake Tahoe was.
You actually won a contest. That's crazy.
I won a real contest. I commented what my proudest accomplishment was the year in random drawing trip to Lake Tahoe.
And I think it's so funny too because a lot of times when people win contests, I feel like I'm always like, but did they really go?
No, we were saying that at
happen?
work because we do a lot of contests at work for different things. And we're like, who are these people that win though? Because we work at a fairly large company. And we're like, who are they?
Suspicious.
What was their, how did they feel about winning this prize? And then when it was me, I did not believe it was real until I think we were physically there. But also at one point, Brian and I were sitting at the hotel lobby bar. We were watching the Tigers play in the playoffs. And I was sitting there, I had my mimosa. I go, Brian, out of all 14,000 people that could be here from my company right now, it's me. That's so crazy, but it was beautiful. Absolutely.
It looked so nice. I've never been. I also, where is it? What state is it? Because I feel like it's in multiple states.
This is a good question. I had to Google this when I won. So it does kind of feed into different states. I think predominantly Nevada and California, and we were right on the border. So when we were at our resort, we were in Nevada. But then we went into the Heavenly Village, just a little shopping center, different things to do. That was in California, and that was a 5-minute drive, not even from where we were staying.
See, in my mind, Lake Tahoe is in California.
Same. That's where I thought it was.
But so it is, but it's also.
Yeah, because we flew into Nevada, and we flew into Reno, and then had to drive to South Tahoe. So it was quite the travel day, but so well worth it.
Yeah, I remember we were talking and you were like, yeah, I have a layover or something. And I was excuse me, what? It's not that far, is it?
It was a long day. So when we flew in, we had a layover in Salt Lake City. Shout out to their airport. They had Auntie Anne's pretzels there.
I was just going to say this. The next thing we need to talk about is how was the airport? Because I feel like that's a big determining factor on if I want to travel places these days.
I would travel there. They had Auntie Anne's and Jimmy John's in the airport. Amongst other things, there was a Coach store in there, a Legos store.
Sold.
I always thought that Detroit, DTW, was the best airport.
I will still argue that we have a pretty good airport.
Pretty good.
I love our airport because the gates are spread out. There's stuff on both sides.
You don't feel crammed,
organized. Yeah.
I have a problem with airports when the ceilings are super low because I start to feel claustrophobic inside them. I don't know why.
Right, but also you're already about to get on a plane with little ceilings and now you're in an airport for 3 hours ahead of time.
Yep.
It's give me some space before I have to go in this tube. I'm not interested.
100%. And then on our way back home, we had a layover from Reno to LAX. And I had been there a couple times in the past when we were younger. I went with my family when I turned 21. I don't remember their airport being anything spectacular. I don't know if it was a new terminal I was in or something, but it was also very nice, very well done. Not as many of my favorite food options, because we had a pretty quick layover, and they had Jersey Mike's, which I don't think.
I thought that was a Michigan. Oh, why would I say that when it's literally called Jersey Mike's?
I kind of thought it was a Michigan thing too. I feel like I've never noticed it
anywhere else
in other states. And then I thought to myself, do we have a sub place at DTW? I think we have a Subway. I'd prefer Jimmy John's.
I don't know. I feel like every time I go to our airport, we go to Max and Irma's.
No, because that's the only
tortilla
choice.
soup.
Correct.
and you have to get that before you get on your plane.
Absolutely, you do. Did I eat that before we left? No, it was so early. We left at like 8 a.m. I don't know
care.
what I ate.
I get it to go, and then I bring it on the plane.
I've gotten it to go for my car for like the ride home, and then like heated it up once I got home. But all in all, great trip.
Great trip. I went to Austin for F1.
Heck yeah.
And then we actually drove to Houston to see Evan's family, some of them, which was super fun. F1, I had never been to a race before.
Yeah, what was that like?
Interesting. So what I don't really, I mean, I guess, okay, to be fair, I did go when remember we had that race in Detroit? What was it for?
Oh.
The Grand Prix
yes,
or something?
the Grand Prix specifically, yes.
So we went for like, I don't know, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And
different vibes, I feel
different vibes for sure. Also, though, I felt kind of the same way where like where we were positioned for that and for this, you don't really see everything, and there's no like screen, or you're not high up enough to see the entire track. So you can basically only see when the car goes by for like 0.2 seconds. And yeah, and so basically you don't really know what's going on. You just see them fly by, and you're
That's
like,
wild.
oh, okay, like hopefully they're doing good.
Yeah.
And also on Sunday was like the actual race, because it's pre-qualifiers for the first 2 days.
Right.
For that, which we were like all excited. We wanted to see, like, we couldn't see them take off from where we were. And Lewis Hamilton, which is one of like the biggest drivers right now.
Oh. Heck
Like
yeah,
spun out first lap, and we didn't see it, and we couldn't see it. So we had to like go on our phones and try to see what was happening really quickly.
Way.
But I think it was just the position we were at. There's other like viewing decks that you can see from. We just weren't over there. We were like
Where
on
you
the
can
opposite
see
side.
More of an overview of what's happening.
Yes. So overall, it was like, I'm glad we went. It's a fun experience. We did walk around and like buy merch and stuff and like see everything. But we also went for the show because Dad was performing, and we didn't know ahead of time. So it was like me, Elena, Nate, and then Stevie was on FaceTime for the whole show. She wanted to see.
I love that.
But we didn't know he was performing Temporary and Somebody Save Me. And so we're sitting there, and the song starts playing. All of a sudden, we're all bawling.
Oh,
we're split. I had one napkin for like under my drink. So I like grabbed that. We're like ripping it in half, passing it around. I'm like, really? There was no warning. But I think that was his first time performing it live. So I was like, oh my gosh. I didn't know if he was going to cry, but we were all crying. So I'm like, okay, hopefully no one's looking at us right now.
Right.
There's just like a group of people. Everyone else is probably singing it. And then like I looked at Elena at one point. I'm like, is everyone crying or is it just us? She's like, I don't know. I think it's just us.
I'm sure there had to been at least one other person that was overcome with emotion.
Yeah, I'm sure. So yeah, that was really fun to see and great to see. But the show itself was amazing.
I told you that right before we started this. I was like, I saw one clip on TikTok of the opening, and it was sick. It was so cool.
I feel like it's been so long since I've seen a full show from him, and like I feel like a lot of people, I think it's just been a long time. So I was like, oh my gosh. At first I didn't even realize that that's what we were like. I thought it was a couple songs,
right?
And then when I found out it was like a whole show, I'm like, oh, sick. Like,
that was awesome.
This is really happening. So that was exciting. And then obviously seeing Evan's family was great too, because we don't always get to see them, again, traveling. But I will say the airports there.
Yeah, what were their airports like? What did you eat at the airport?
So we didn't eat at their airports actually, but the one in Austin was okay. I feel like it was like a little bit more newer, maybe like updated, and we were only like in and out because we just landed there and left.
Yeah,
and then we came back from the Houston airport, which I didn't really love as much.
Yeah,
so I didn't really get to like experience the full airports because it was just like one way kind of.
Right. Yeah, you didn't have any layovers. Layovers are interesting on like what kind of food you can get quickly.
And we didn't go in and out. You know, like normally if you go somewhere, you land and then you experience it on the way home.
Right.
We were like two separate ones. So I can't speak on their airports specifically. I will say though, I think they both did have Jack in the Box, which is like a big thing.
Really? I was hoping that LAX would have In-N-Out. I don't know why. That was just like a hope of mine. But we wouldn't have had time to grab anything anyways.
I think the thing in Texas is like Whataburger.
I want to say, yeah, I feel like I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
I feel like that's all. I want to say Arizona might have those too.
I don't know. We didn't eat either of them, but I know like when family usually goes and visits his family in Texas, they like want to get like all the Jack in the Box and all of that, but we didn't really get to do all that. But it was a lot of fun, and I was very happy to go. I really like Texas too.
I've never been.
I feel like every time I go, it's a fun experience. We've gone a couple times to visit family. We usually don't get to see like much of the city and stuff because we're just visiting. But we did see a little bit of Austin, which felt like a very new city.
I've heard that about Austin, that a lot of young people are gravitating towards there right now. It's very, I don't even know if I want to say up and coming because I feel like it's a little bit past that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It did feel like we went to dinner like right in the city the one night, and it was really like pretty. It kind of gave me like Chicago vibes almost.
I love that.
A little bit smaller.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like that, and then like the crowd was definitely, it almost seemed like a little LA.
Really?
Yeah. Like a lot of like younger, like I don't know. It just seemed a little bit like that, but
I feel like they have an influencer population there.
I could see that.
I feel like I follow a few influencers that are based out of Austin, Texas.
Yeah, well, it was really cute and it was fun, and we all enjoyed our experience there.
Hey.
And a couple other things while we were gone. So we obviously have to do some quick little football updates. The Lions are leading the NFC North with their record of 6-1.
Woo! I'm so happy.
We are coming for you, Super Bowl. And we are the only team in the entire league with a better. The only team in the entire league with a better record is the Chiefs. So only one team is doing better than us right now.
So that tells me we're going to the Super Bowl.
That's what I'm thinking. And that's what's happening.
Yes, no, it has to happen. That's happening. I'm also doing very well in my fantasy football league. I want to say I'm 6-2 right now, which is pretty impressive.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. You're proud of me, right?
I thought you said you weren't doing good, though. You did say that to me before.
Yeah, because I lost that
You
week.
lost one game,
and
so
then I felt
defeated.
And at that point, I think it was maybe the second or third game in. But I'm doing very well.
Okay, I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
Happy to hear that. I also thought of you when I heard this.
The Uncrustable news?
Yeah, that the NFL eats an absurd amount of Uncrustables.
I thought that I alone was keeping Uncrustables afloat.
I could still probably argue that.
Mm-hmm.
And with their numbers, I want to say you're a close second.
I would be a close second for sure. I love an Uncrustable. I eat them probably daily.
I think the last time I had an Uncrustable, first of all, let me be clear. I don't eat peanut butter jelly.
Right, you don't like peanut butter.
But, you know the cheese Uncrustables?
Like a little grilled cheese. That one I actually haven't had.
That's the one I used to eat. And I swear I think the last time I had it was elementary school.
It is the softest bread on earth, quite possibly. And growing up, that is what I ate for lunch every day. An Uncrustable, Cheez-Its, I think a chocolate milk, and one of those cosmic brownies. That was my lunch from probably...
And it still is.
Yeah. No, I think the only thing that is swapped out is the cosmic brownie. I maybe have a different treatsies there. Not necessarily. I can't tell you when I had a cosmic brownie. Not because I don't want one. That does sound actually delicious right now, but because I just haven't gone out of my way to purchase one.
I want to say that I saw one at Target recently.
A cosmic brownie?
But I could be wrong.
I could go back to my ways. I mean, I love an Uncrustable.
You really do. And I will get Snapchats sometimes of you eating that. And it's very you. But I don't know. Apparently, the NFL teams combined eat over 80,000 a year. And so I think you would be a close second.
I think so. And I think this is to say I would fit in very well with the NFL. They did a ranking on which team eats the most per week. The Lions weren't on there, so I would like to know their stats.
Right. And also, what are they eating instead? Real lunch or something?
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable. Well, let's go back to some we're talking about the Chiefs and maybe they'll be in the Super Bowl. They're winning, they've got the best record in the league for now. But you know what? They can't win them all. And that's including Taylor, because she might get that win. She might not with her Chiefs, but she's not getting it with her ex right now because supposedly, allegedly, Joe Alwyn is dating Kendall Jenner.
This feels like a deliberate attack on Taylor, on Swifties everywhere. If they are, in fact, together, I don't like it.
No one will. And they know that. And I think that if there is any truth to it, it's all PR. So let's not give them that. You know what I mean?
Right. Joe doesn't
need
give
them
any recognition.
What they want.
No.
But it is ironic. So this all started because Kendall and Joe were seen together in a photo at the 2024 Academy Museum Gala on the 19th of this month.
And why was he there?
Good question.
Reason. Yeah, for what reason? I don't know.
I don't either.
Nobody will know.
Well, after that, Joe Alwyn also liked Kendall's photo on Instagram. And people say that that's typically how a soft launch goes for her and him.
That makes sense because I feel like he's very inactive on the social media front.
So it was very purposeful to log on, go to that, like
Correct.
it. It's like, calm down.
Yeah.
Calm down. But this will all be very messed up because obviously Taylor Swift has been in a feud since really it started in 2009 when her VMA speech was interrupted with Kanye, and then in 2016 when Runaway came out and there was a song on there, and then the Kardashians put out the clip saying Taylor was lying. All that drama has been going on since 2016, which is when Taylor met Joe. So he knew and was there for all of the beef.
He lived through this drama in real time. He was there for Reputation. We all know why Reputation was created, with the snakes and the Kardashian of it all. That was to send a message. And he was there in support of said message.
And he knows it, which is why I think it might be PR, because the timing of it is lining up with right around when people think Taylor is re-releasing Reputation. And so maybe he's trying to get a little PR, they're trying to get a little PR, and they want to stir the pot. It's the rage bait we've been talking about.
It's the rage bait of it all. And I don't condone it. I say we do not engage in this kind of behavior, and we focus solely on what we do best and clowning over the re-release of Reputation, because we have been clowning over that for about a year now. I've been a part of it. You may or may not have been.
I'm on the outskirts, but
I'm in the thick of it. I'm in the grainy live streams watching the Eras Tour live, hoping that we will get a rep announcement. We'll see. Maybe it'll come in Indy this weekend. Maybe it'll come in Canada. Who's to say? But I'll be on the edge of my seat until we get it. And that's where I'm at.
And I'll be waiting for you to tell me what's going on. And speaking of, though, we've got some other NFL-related celebs, NFL adjacent, if you will. This just came out. So, we talked a lot about Tom Brady in the past.
We have, which I don't know if he supports the Lions.
Yeah, Brittany is regretting all of our support of him because apparently she didn't like some comments he was making towards the Lions when he was announcing one of their games.
Right. This was a couple games ago. And he just was, it was when we played Dallas, and every word that came out of his mouth, I don't think he was in support of the Lions winning that game until the game was done. There was just a lot of comments, and I was very focused on that because that was the game where I was in the sky. I was flying home from Tahoe as that was happening. So I was locked in. I was focused. I was listening to every word the commentators were saying. And he was just talking about like, oh, they just need to. Basically, he was not about the trick plays and the message that Dan Campbell was sending to Dallas and to the world. And I can't stand behind anyone.
By winning?
Correct.
By being better than them?
Exactly. By pummeling them to embarrassment.
We do not quit. I will say that.
And that's a great thing. That's a life lesson that everybody should.
Right.
Everyone should know.
I agree. We will always support.
I will support anything Dan Campbell does. And I just can't condone
Tom Brady's behavior.
No, because it just seems like he wasn't on board with what Dan was trying to do. I wanted to hear him hyping up Dan, being like, this is sick. This is the best football I've ever seen. Dan's diabolical. He's crazy. Yeah, he is. And I, once again, will say for probably the 100th time on this podcast, I'd run through a wall for that man.
You have said that quite a few times. Well, maybe it's karma for Tom Brady this week because now his ex, which we talked about this when they broke up in 2022, Gisele Bündchen, they were married for a long time. They have kids together. I don't know how long.
I like that note. A long time.
That's our research on that. And anyway, so we talked about their divorce in 2022, and there was speculation around that time that maybe she was getting with her jujitsu instructor.
I remember this.
Yes. And so shortly after the divorce, they were spotted together. And then shortly after that, they announced that they were actually together. And now she is pregnant with his baby.
I mean, are we surprised?
And that could be his karma.
Where there's a spark, there is fire. Is that what they say? I've been really bad with my metaphors lately.
You have been, but I don't know if that's what they say in this scenario. But yes, I would agree.
It's
1
where
plus
there's
1
smoke,
equals.
there is
But hey, a spark will create fire too. So we were on the right path.
What did I say earlier at the top of the baseball?
You go at the top, off the top of the bat. I don't know. Like, you mean the top of your head?
Yep.
Right off the bat?
Yep.
You combine two, so it's fine. So anyway, so yeah, I was going to say 1 plus 1 equals 2. So now they are literally equaling 2. They're having a baby. And Tom Brady did post kind of a cryptic message on his
weird behavior
Instagram story after supposedly finding out the news. It was, he posted some sunset with like a weird caption and music over it. I don't really know what it said, to be honest with you. But it looked like his response, perhaps, to the situation.
It definitely felt a little planned, a little calculated, if you will. Definitely something that a teenage girl would do in lieu of a breakup. You know, find a song fitting of the message that you want to send. Attach that song to your story with some kind of dramatic quote, scenery, and I mean, I can support that.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, that's his response anyways for now. Maybe he'll address it on his next football announcement broadcast. I highly doubt it, though. Speaking of some other VS angels, though, because Gisele was a Victoria's Secret angel.
Heck yeah, she was.
The Victoria's Secret fashion show happened this year.
Yes.
Which there was a break, wasn't there?
Yes, there was a bit of a break. This was a resurgence, if you will. I think they tried to do some form of a fashion show. It wasn't necessarily a fashion show. I think it was more like I don't know what it was.
Well, apparently this is the first time that you can actually shop all the items that were on the runway.
That's pretty incredible. Because, I mean, back in the day, they were a little extreme. Most of those items I feel like were not purchasable.
I did not think it was giving that this time. I don't know if you watched any of it.
I've seen clips.
It was nice. It was like, I was shocked that it came back. I didn't know about it until it was happening. And I was like, oh, okay, wow. Like,
I think that was a lot of us. I had seen a few TikToks. I think Gigi had posted one. Maybe Victoria's Secret posted another. But this was months and months before. There was no lead up. It was just tonight's the fashion show.
Yeah, that's how I felt about it. It was Lisa, Tyla, and Cher performed, which normally don't they just do like one music person?
I feel like it's usually one icon, and then they sing multiple times.
Well, they had 3 performances this time. Gigi Hadid did her little Taylor Swift wave. I don't know if you saw that. She said Taylor taught her how to do the little wave. She did that. That was a big deal. Dylan Sprouse showed up to support his new wife, which they got married pretty recently.
Yeah.
Barbara Palvin Sprouse.
Correct.
And he brought a cutout of their cat and held it up. And that was...
I love that.
Same.
I think that is so wholesome, and I think if you were to ever walk in a runway and Evan was there, you would want him to bring cutouts of Lottie and Wolfie.
Yeah, for sure.
Wouldn't you?
I'm not sure, but I think it was funny. I also think it was funny because when he was being interviewed, he was holding the cutout and he was like on the carpet. He didn't get in yet. And they were like, oh, are you bringing that to like hold up or whatever? And he was like, yeah. Basically, he didn't know if they were going to let him in with it. I'm like, your wife is walking in the show. I think they're going to let you bring it in.
I think they were going to let him do.
And they did. And she liked it. And so also another big thing that happened at the show, which nobody knew was coming, Tyra Banks returned to the runway for the first time in 20 years to close out the show.
An icon. I mean, I used to watch America's Next Top Model pretty religiously. So, big moment.
Yeah, I did not expect that. I didn't even see it because again, I found out it was happening, turned it on for like 3 seconds, and then I was like, okay, I've things to do because I didn't prepare for this.
No one was prepared. But I did see on TikTok some people had watch parties with their friends. I was like, how were we prepared for watch parties? Maybe I might have had a watch party.
Maybe they did it after the fact.
That could have been.
So yeah, a lot's going on with that. And then another show that got announced but then also canceled immediately was Shakira canceled her arena tour after announcing it because she had to move some shows to stadiums because the demand was too high.
I mean, that's a great problem to have.
I think it's the first time we've seen this be the actual problem after people announce their tours. Usually it's like the opposite of like, oh, we're postponing or canceling. Like we've talked about that happening a couple times in the past. This was the total opposite. She had to move some to stadiums. So she has 23 Latin America stops. She starts in February of 2025. And then she has 17 U.S. stops.
Let's go.
Ending in June. And this was interesting timing, but right around the same time, her ex, who we talked about before, Gerard Piqué, came out, I don't know if I said that correctly, came out speaking with CNN and accused her of being misleading about the end of their relationship back in 2022. So 2 years later, he did an interview and basically said that in the end, the truth or whatever happens or occurs is not told the way it was. So accusing her of not being truthful about their breakup. But in the end, she's winning.
Hell yeah.
Also, rooting for this reboot.
Oh my gosh.
Because Disney Waverly Place reboot is happening. It's happened now, if you're watching this on the day we come out. They're rebooting, and we've been talking about this, but they had a premiere, and a bunch of celebrities showed up. It was like a Disney Channel reunion.
This was the craziest premiere I've seen come out of anything from Disney Plus, Disney Channel in years. It was arguably a Disney Channel reunion. We had stars like Jason Earls from Hannah Montana, Corbin Bleu from High School Musical, Monique Coleman from High School Musical, Jake Thomas from Lizzie McGuire. The list went on and on and on.
And a
Haley
bunch of
Kyoto, she was there. It was just everyone out of the woodworks. A bunch of people that were on Wizards were there.
Yeah, I saw that. First of all, I didn't even know they were doing a premiere, and I don't even know how I saw it. It was just on TikTok.
Crazy amounts of content about this premiere, and they had a purple carpet. It was a whole thing. They are really doing the most for this. They've had Wizards of Waverly Place like pinned to the top of Disney Plus, I want to say, for the past like 2 weeks.
Really? I mean, I'm excited. I actually I tried to watch it like this week.
I did
earlier
too.
in the week because I thought it was out because the premiere thing. So I'm like, oh, maybe it's out. I tried to watch it and it was like coming soon. I'm
right.
Like, thank you. Thanks. I thought
think
it
we
was
have
out.
like a day or two until it comes out.
It's the 30th. So if you're watching this, it's out. And it's going to Disney Plus. All the episodes are going on there.
I think
we said this in a couple episodes ago, so
we'll be watching.
We'll be watching and we'll be updating. And we hope you are too. But, okay, a lot of people showed up for that. And speaking of a lot of people showing up, the Timothée Chalamet lookalike contest in New York City had close to 10,000 people show up for this contest. I saw so many clips of this.
So did I.
And scarily enough, there were a lot of lookalikes that I was like, that is too good. Like,
no,
how are people not swarming those people? Like, when I saw a clip of the real Timothée Chalamet showed up.
Correct.
And he was being swarmed. And I'm like, how did they not accidentally swarm everyone else as well?
They were incredible lookalikes to the point where I think there was one picture of all of them and the real Timothée Chalamet was in the photo. I could not identify him at first. The only identifiable factor was the fact that he was wearing a hat, and I don't think any of the other ones were, except for the costume ones, the ones wearing Willy Wonka costumes and things like that. I was flabbergasted by this whole experience because it was seemingly not a sanctioned event. It was not an official event. Apparently, the organizer of the event just put up a few posters. It was very minimal advertising. The organizer is a YouTuber who is pretty well known, but their name wasn't attached to it. And to get 10,000 people and Timothée Chalamet himself there is just kind of iconic.
It really is. It is, but also, like, imagine showing up to something like this and just seeing, like, a bunch of yous. But then also, I feel like, would you possibly be insulted in a way of, like, this many people, one, think they look just like you, and two, like, what if the person who got chose, like, to win that looks the most like you were like, oh.
Well, I don't think the person that won was the best lookalike there either, because he was one of the ones dressed
Willy
up like
Wonka.
And he was throwing candy at the judges, so the judges, I think, were swayed.
He bribed the judges with candy.
But that is a weird concept to think about. Like, if there was a Britney lookalike contest, I don't know if I want to be there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like I would even be freaked out looking online at it.
Right.
But, like, to go in real life and be like, oh, okay, like, this is what people think I look like. It's almost like how they have that mirror thing where it's, like, shows you what you really look like to other people.
I don't want to know.
And every time you're like, oh, I do?
It's like hearing your voice on a video or recording.
Like this?
Yes. Terrible.
Yeah.
Don't want to experience it.
Agreed. That's funny, though, that the one who won was the one who bribed the judges. But we have someone else who supposedly bribed judges and now is doing their own contest. So Ray Gun, remember the infamous Olympic Ray Gun, is now challenging haters to a dance-off with a $10,000 prize. So $5,000 goes to the best solo winner and $10,000 for the best crew. It's a new competition launched on Instagram, and I feel like you have to sign up.
I know. We need more details. Can I compete from
Zoom?
Via Zoom? Because I fear I might not be able to make it to Australia in time if that's where the contest is being based out of. However,
It's only like 24 hours away.
I'm ready and willing. Ready and willing to compete.
You asked for it?
And here it is.
Delivered.
This is my time to shine. This wasn't on my 2024 bingo card, but let's cross one off and add this in. I will get a chance to compete.
I hope you do.
I will do some research. I will look into this. I'll report
You need to start
back.
practicing.
I do. I'm a little rusty. I think the last time the last time people were trying to get me to breakdance and do my headstand.
My wedding?
No.
Okay.
Nobody asked then. At the draft party, people were trying to get me to do it. And
Okay,
you said,
so not that long ago.
yeah, you were like, Brittany Marie, absolutely not.
Okay, because I want to say the last time you did it was at my house on a Halloween party.
It was when I sprained
you sprained
my ankle, my thumb. It was
like your
all
thumb or
swollen.
something.
I had a wrap on it for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, mid-party she does this and she's like, I need a wrap. I need a wrap. I'm like, I don't just have that laying around. Like, give me a minute.
That was iconic.
So I did not want a repeat of that situation. And I think the last time maybe you did it successfully was a long time before that.
It was a long time.
At a bar visit that we aren't probably proud of.
No, not at all. I feel like we've put that footage on this podcast before. So if you know, you know. If you don't, look through the videos and try to find it.
And then, we brought up this earlier and we need to circle back because we brought up Jimmy John's at the airport.
Oh, yes.
And I feel, one, personally victimized that you brought that up. Two, that Jimmy John's just launched a pickle sandwich.
No, I feel, I saw it.
Bad for me?
Yeah, no, I really do feel bad for you.
Thank you.
I saw it. My initial gut reaction was, I have to send this to Haley. And then I thought to myself, she can't eat this right now. And that would just be cruel to her heart.
Well, it's cruel. And I did see it. And I just want to know why now. You know what I mean? Why now when I can't have it? And it leads me to a bigger discussion here because you kind of hear some things that you can't do or you can't have when you're pregnant.
Like alcohol.
Correct. And obviously, no problem. But then you get into some of the other stuff and you're just like,
why?
Why do you need to take this away from me? And, deli meat is one. I kind of knew about it. Then I knew a lot of people, if you heat it up, no big deal. But now with everything going on in 2024, for whatever reason, it's a big no. And now Jimmy John's wants to come out with pickle bread, which we all know if we listen to my TikTok or baby video on here that I love pickles so much. We had a pickle party and now they're going to launch a pickle sandwich. And by the way, it's only happening from October 28th to November 14th, which November 14th is National Pickle Day. And why would you put National Pickle Day when I can't have this sandwich?
It's cruel. It's unusual. And I don't know why this isn't a permanent menu item because I'm sure they're pissing off a lot of pregnant people right now.
I thought that, okay, it's fine. Once I have the baby, I will get this pickle sandwich. But it turns out I'm going to probably have to wait until a year from now because it seems like they only bring it back around pickle day.
And I fear that if we got you one now and tried to refrigerate it, it would not hold.
For the next year?
The next year.
I also fear that would be true. But there's other things that I didn't know you weren't supposed to have necessarily. Like one big thing this fall that I found out.
Oh, this was heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking. But thankfully we found pasteurized. If you don't have pasteurized apple cider, you can't have it. And I never even thought pasteurized, unpasteurized. I just thought it's apple cider. It's juice.
It's not alcohol. It's in the clear.
Nope. Has to be pasteurized. Same thing with orange juice. Didn't know about that. I knew about the caffeine. You're supposed to cut it down. I knew about the medicine that you're not supposed to limit it, but I didn't realize that it was specifically Advil. And I'm a headache girly.
Yeah.
And it's been tough out here. Other things I didn't know you weren't supposed to have: grapes.
That's so niche.
This one's arguable, which I feel like a lot of these people will be like, "Oh, I had
grapes and
this and I was
fine.
fine."
I had the most healthy baby in the world.
Yeah, and whatever. But I'm just telling you what I've learned. Okay, grapes you're not supposed to. Supposedly the skin in them can be toxic. No diet soda,
Which is tough because also, if you know us, we are Coke Zero girls.
It's been very hard for me. That part,
I don't mean to laugh.
it's so messed up because it's truly like the day you find out is like
You didn't realize your last Coke Zero was your last Coke Zero.
yes. And I said this about like my last margarita, my last Coke Zero, my last deli sandwich. I'm like, if I would have known
You just didn't
those were
know.
my last ones, I would have savored the moment. You just didn't know. Some other things, obviously sushi. I didn't know hot dogs are kind of questionable. They have to like really be thoroughly heated.
Right. I mean, I like a burnt hot dog, so
Agreed.
I'm also not pregnant, so
right. So you can have any of these things we're talking about, and I'm really happy for you.
thank you.
No hot tubs or hot baths or saunas, which I kind of knew about that.
Yeah, that adds up. You don't want to.
But I'll tell you what, in the winter,
Mm,
you want a just nice hot bath or a hot tub,
you
and
really
you just
do.
that's too bad. You know what I mean? And no changing cat litter, which I obviously don't have any cats, but I thought that one was so interesting and like random.
It's a little specific.
It's very specific. Obviously no cookie dough, which also was tough this fall because, you know, we like to make the little Halloween
pumpkin.
cookies and eat them. I have heard that those ones, though, say that they're safe for consumption.
And they're not.
I don't know. So
I
don't
eat the
do
cookie
it.
dough.
Yeah, but you're not.
I'm not
pregnant.
advertising that others should do it.
Yeah, but in the past we may or may not have, and now I couldn't.
Yeah.
So that has been tough out there. But yeah, there's just a lot of things that you find out after you get pregnant and you realize that you can't have them anymore. And then you really long for them. And now I understand. I used to think like the videos of people having like the huge sushi platters and like all the subs getting delivered to the delivery room was like dramatic. And now I'm like, no.
You get it.
I fully get it.
Well, and I feel like it's one of those things where you think about how you can't have something and you want it more.
Yes.
Like, even when you're sick sometimes and like you regret not taking your non-snuffy nose for granted, and you're just like, dang, I miss the days when I could breathe out of my nose correctly. It's tough. So that's the only thing I really have to compare this to for now. But I feel for you, and in solidarity, I will not have a pickle sandwich from Jimmy John's.
To be fair, you don't really like pickles
Who's
that
to
much.
say? I've tried a few pickles as of recently. The snaps were quite good. And I had a variety of pickles at said pickle party.
Interesting. Well, so that concludes our little rant about that. Now, for these shady stories, we are going to read some spooky stories because it feels like this weekend is still, some people are still celebrating Halloween.
Correct. There's been a lot of divide on that.
A lot of divide on if it was last weekend or this weekend.
Correct.
And so we feel like, to be fair, we did a regular episode, but we'll sneak in a couple of spooky stories. We also had a lot get written in after the episode.
Many.
So let's switch gears, though. Let's go back to write in your shady stories for next week. But for now, let's get into spooky story number 1. When I was 18 years old, I worked at my church daycare for 5 years. It was the old church building since the town had built a new one a few years prior. Nothing creepy about working at a church, right? Or so I thought. I was on my 2nd year working there on a regular Friday night in November when I found out the building was haunted. It was 6 o'clock and my coworkers and I were finished for the night, and our director told us we were good to leave and to have a good weekend. All we had to do was check the upstairs to make sure the lights were off and the water in the bathrooms and the sinks were off. So I volunteered to do it since it was usually a quick task and I've done it many times. This hallway was where we would take the kids to do their after-school activities. Instead of going up the first set of stairs, I went up the set closest to the timeout clock, and it was closer to the bathrooms that needed to be checked. As I reached the top step, I immediately had a sense of fear come over me. I came through the doorway to the hallway and noticed that the light was on. As I take a half step more forward, I froze to the sight of a dark shadow-like figure standing in the room we take the kids to do art projects. My blood rushed cold and with chills running down my spine. I bolt back down the stairs, and I had the feeling that I shouldn't be there, and I run to go clock out and start heading to my car. By this time, I exit the building to the parking lot, and most of my coworkers had already left and were leaving. It's already very dark since daylight savings had just ended, and only one streetlight looks over the parking lot. The parking lot is parallel to the hallway that I had just been in. I walked up the hill to my car in disbelief of what I had just seen. I get in my car, and I should still be able to see that room light should be on since I didn't turn it off, and it was not. The only other two people that were still there was my boss and a janitor that were talking in the lobby at the other end of the church that I could see from my car. Ever since then, I never went upstairs without anyone with me while I worked there. I told my boss about what I had seen a few weeks later, and she believed me since she had seen and witnessed other scary things herself.
I don't ever want to experience this kind of situation.
What's with like the haunted bathrooms and stuff?
No, it always comes down to a bathroom. It's very Harry Potter-esque.
And I think this one's a little like, you know, the feeling of going downstairs and then like running up the stairs and feeling like someone's behind you. That's this feeling.
But confirmed that it's scary, like actually scary, not just, oh, I'm running upstairs because I don't want the monsters to get me. Yeah. Ugh.
Spooky.
Very spooky. Shady story number 2. I was driving home one night after closing late at my job. I was 19 years old, and I took the back roads home past the railroad tracks in an old cemetery. I had taken this way home many times before, but something felt different. I checked all my mirrors, and I felt an eerie presence outside of my driver's side window. When I looked out the window, there appeared to be a maid of light keeping pace with my car about 35 miles per hour. It was bright, white, and ghostly. It had an expressive aura, but no face, just eyes. They were humongous and glowing in blue. I didn't feel like I was in danger, but maybe something was a warning. I looked away for a second, and when I looked back, the ghost gliding along the field with some trees. I stopped the car and got to the side of the road to see if there was anything behind me, and all I saw was the red glow of my taillights and nothing more. The next night, though, I did hit a deer with my car on that same road at the same time of night.
So it was a warning?
I think it was a warning. I think the ghost was trying to tell her, do not take this road tomorrow. I mean, and if it was me,
I wouldn't have.
I would not have taken the back way home.
Agreed. Yeah.
Seems like a friendly ghost tap.
Yeah, but if something's telling you,
don't
go.
Don't go. But we tested it and we saw what happened. So this is a learning lesson to everyone involved. If you see an aura and they are warning you, be warned. And that's all I got.
Great advice. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. All right. Spooky story number 3. I went to Hawaii in 2021 with my family, and my sister and I shared a room. We were sleeping one night when I woke up and I saw a figure standing in the front of the room. At first I thought it was my teenage brother, but I realized it wasn't. This boy was way too tall. What was weird about it was the edges of the person looked blurry, like he wasn't real, yet the shape of him looked like a human. It was too dark to see his face, but all I could make out was gray, dark blurriness. I've always thought that if I was in a scary situation, I would do something, but I just laid there petrified. I squeezed my eyes shut, and when I opened them again, he disappeared. This is what I was talking about in the last episode, is
fight or flight.
Yes, and also, I feel like I've done that.
Where 100%.
You just cover your eyes and are basically like, and if I don't see it, it's not happening.
100%.
And in this instance, that worked.
Just keep your eyes closed long enough to not realize that it's actually really happening.
And on the Patreon, actually, a lot of the comments on the episode were people who were agreeing that they are like freeze. Like,
I think more of us are freeze than we think. I think a lot of us like to think in any kind of freaky situation, we're going to know exactly what to do, how to handle it. But when push comes to shove, we freeze.
and
that's okay.
And it happens to the best of us. And sometimes it works. But also, speaking of the Patreon, this week on the bonus content, we are going to be doing a celeb influencer Halloween costume recap from weekend 1. Because again, not everybody celebrated Halloween
Yet.
last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So we will potentially do a part 2 and maybe some additional bonus content next week. But this week, if you want to see that, make sure you join the Patreon bonus content. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.